Welcome back to the Scale Forward podcast. I'm your host, Russell, and today I'm joined by Destiny. Destiny is part of the founding team of Cadence SEO, and she's here to talk with me today about all things SEO and business. Destiny, great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
We were chatting a couple of days ago about your journey. It's a bit of a wild one, so I like to ask everybody how they got started. So can you take us back to the beginning? How did you end up where you are? What's your background? And then we'll talk more about Cadence.
So we're going back many, many years. I won't age myself. I worked from 18, well, actually, technically, I started at 14, just working, doing data entry and things like that. Moved into a lot of customer service. Utah here is known for all of the call centers. I think it's because we don't really have much of an accent, if you will. I mean, to other people, we probably do. We have tons and tons and tons of call centers here. So I started in customer service, worked my way up through some of those things, moved into plastic surgery and med spas. And then circa 2010, I kind of decided I was over working in those areas. So I answered a Craigslist post to a marketing company, literally. And I started as entry level, learning how to do blogs and links, and then move my way up into being a manager and running a link building company. And then I moved into account management. From there, moved into project management, and now here we are today.
What a background. Craigslist, huh?
Craigslist.
You knew I was going to ask.
I know I aged myself, didn't I? But I will say,
Yeah.
at least I don't still have an AOL.com email.
Give us the TLDR how you ended up at Cadence.
Okay, so I worked at a large agency in Arizona for about 10 years. A friend of mine, she just kind of got tired of the greed in the industry. She decided to quit her job. She started her own agency, and here I am. Every day for an entire year, I would get a text message and she would say, "Destiny, I need you. Will you come work with me?" And I said, "No, you can't afford me yet." And then eventually I didn't care about her being able to afford me because I was stuck in corporate America and I wanted out. And so that's how the magic happened. And here we are today.
So what do you do at Cadence? What's your role? Were you one of the founding team members?
Yes. So Christy and Kevin are the owners of Cadence SEO, and I am the chief operations officer here. We started with 3 and now we're at 26.
In what time frame did you guys do that?
So we've scaled. We hit 19 employees in the first 2 years, and then the rest have come on within the last year. So we started with 3 clients, and now we're up to, I think 92 was my last count. So we've done well.
Yeah, we'll talk about the team further on in the show, because obviously I'd love to learn more about how you scaled that. What are some of the lessons there, and obviously get some advice to give to other founders. Talk to me about what Cadence does in a nutshell. I mean, everybody knows what SEO is, but such a broad term. Talk to us about some of those 92 clients.
Yeah, so we really, SEO is not rocket science. Okay, it's links, it's making sure that you've got really good solid content, and it's making sure that your site is technically sound so that search engines can get through it and can understand what it is that you're trying to put out there. So there's no real secrets to it. Really, what we have done is simplify it. A lot of times you've got agencies out there that are smoke and mirrors that will promise you the moon. And we like to call them internally churn-and-burn companies, where they'll get you in, right? They'll do some good work for you, but they don't ever intend to keep you. And the longevity is not their end goal. That's just something that is insider information in the industry. We are not like that. We are a people first company. What that means is we put our people, our employees, and our clients before anything else. We really pride ourselves in making sure that we always do the right thing for our clients. The business in itself is not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to get the exact results that a client wanted. You're not always going to get a client that can, that is an owner that's smaller, that can approve all of the changes that you want to do to their site to get them the results that you're looking for. So we really look at trying to balance what the needs are against what your red tape in your company is, because everybody has some sort of red tape. So we try to walk that balance and figure out a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E, just in case we get down to the nitty gritty where, you're having a hard time getting things approved, things like that, so that we can get people the results that they want.
Yeah, that makes sense. And SEO isn't rocket science. Some people do make it harder than it needs to be. However, Google likes to throw a spanner in the works every now and then. We could talk about that, of course, later. What I'm really interested in is such rapid growth. The early days where there was just three of you must have been blissful chaos. How do you go from an idea to getting clients to dealing with, juggling all the plates?
So what's funny about it is, so Christy and I had known each other for a really, really long time. And we like to joke. So at the company that we worked with together, I was an account management and she was like a salesperson, right? And so when the organization decided to pair up an account manager and a salesperson together, Chrissy and I got paired up together and we did not like each other at all. We did not. It was no sugarcoating it. It was rough because we're both two type A personalities that, have our own ways of doing things. And then having to work together was a big struggle in the beginning. But eventually we became really good friends and, we were able to come to some common ground that both of us could trust what the other person was doing. We both had a really hard work ethic and, there was never any question. She knew if I said I was going to do something, it got done and vice versa. So we just became really good friends. And then, at the end of the day, we brought that same relationship into the business and we both work hard no matter what. Sometimes, we don't see eye to eye, but at the end of the day, we both know that we've got each other's backs. And so it was rough, but it was also nice going from corporate America into somewhere where what I said mattered and it was taken for what it was. And, we were all in there to work hard and to get things done and to grow the business. When your back's against the wall, you are amazed at the things that you can do. And, time doesn't really become a thing. If you have to work 16 hours a day, but you know that everything you're doing, everything you're putting in is what you're going to get out, you're going to give it everything you've got. And that's exactly what all three of us did.
So many things to pick up on there. But at the end of the day, when you have two people with a common goal, I can relate it to playing in a sport. I played basketball my whole life, and the best player might not get along with the player with the best IQ because they clash. But at the end of the day, that's going to happen when you're trying to do really great things. And so no surprise there, when you stick with it, some really great things happen. What I'm curious about is, can you still remember the first client you landed? Can you remember the pitch? Were you there for that?
I wasn't there for the initial pitch because I wouldn't say that I'm the greatest salesperson, if you will, but that's why I've got Christy. She is great at sales. She doesn't do a lot of that anymore now that she doesn't have to, but no, I wasn't there. But I do know that it came from a close personal relationship that she had with somebody. Because, when you start a business, you need somebody to give you a chance. Just give me a chance. Let me prove myself. And I believe that the first two clients that we had were literally that situation. It was, hey, you've got a great business here. Give me a chance. Let me show you what we can do for you. And those clients are still our clients today.
Usually the first client you get stays with you forever. This is a story in my business and previous. Like, our first client still with us today, 75 years later.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, really, you're going to lose clients. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. You can't be everything for everybody, just like any relationship that you get into. You know what I mean? Whether it's friendships and things like that, they don't always last. Sometimes they last for a season, but they're there for a reason, is what I like to say. But it is refreshing to know that so many of our clients do stay with us, especially coming from an industry where, like I had mentioned before, it is a lot of smoke and mirrors in this industry. And we have to fight tooth and nail. When you get a new client, you have to fight for them because they've probably been through some things, right, in their SEO and marketing journey. So at the end of the day, we have to prove to them that we're not going to be like the others. And then we have to continue showing them that by their results, by the way that we work with them, by the way that we gain and continue our relationship. Really, that's all it comes down to, is you want to build that rapport and you want to keep telling the truth from the beginning throughout. And I think that is the key to making sure that your clients stay with you.
Yeah, and sometimes even the hard truths, right?
Well, and that's where a lot of people in this industry struggle, is a lot of people don't like conflict, and it's inevitable in SEO because you're going to have situations that arise where a client is really hyper focused on, X3 keywords, right? And say something happens, our lovely friends at Google decide to put out a new algorithm change, and then that keyword tanks or they lose a few positions. That's a big deal for clients. And so then you've got to be honest about the situation, talk to them about exactly what happened with the algorithm changes, and then talk about the plan to get the ranking back. You know what I mean? And so those conversations can be tough, and some people don't fare well when they can't have those hard conversations, because you got to be honest, whether it's fun to talk about or not. That's the key.
Yeah. Or it's either Google or someone's sent you like 100,000 PBM spammy backlinks
Oh, yes.
that
Yes,
happens.
exactly. Oh, yes.
Yeah, there's some tough things to navigate with all businesses, especially with SEO, with marketing, with you name it. I want to just circle back to the team, because a lot of founders struggle to scale the team. Were you heavily involved in the hiring process? And basically, can you give us a rundown on the hiring process? How do we find good people today?
Yeah, as far as hiring good people, really it comes down to we can't use Craigslist anymore. we don't, we can't use Craigslist anymore. So honestly, when we first started, one of the places that I went, because we didn't have big budgets to go and pay an Indeed or a LinkedIn to try to find us people for the job. We actually utilized a lot of Facebook chat groups, social media, those kinds of things to be able to find people. Because sometimes when you can't, you don't have the budgets to go and pay to get people, you've got to get creative. So here in Utah, for example, we have a really great presence on Facebook with different marketing, PR, social media pages. They're groups where you can just go on there to look for people to hire. And it can be hiring them for one specific job or, full-time employment. And we actually got really lucky from that standpoint. And then, of course, in the agency, when you've been in this industry for so long, you have connections. So really, it's utilizing what you can to get who you can when you need them. And then once you grow a little bit and you have a little bit more budget to spend, then you can go to those people that are really good, their work history, that, they know exactly what they're talking about and they're going to be an asset to you. Then you can go and try to get those people that know you to come with you. And then once you've got your core group together, really it's about utilizing that budget, talking through, your strategy of, are we going to use Indeed? Are we going to use LinkedIn? LinkedIn has been one of the bigger ones that we have used as of late to find people, because we can get better results quickly. Then anytime you're using one of those places, though, it comes down to, you're going to get inundated right now with applications. And sometimes I think it's hard because of the AI, which I have a love and hate relationship with AI, because it does screen out so many candidates that might be good, right? And so you've got to kind of figure that out. And then it's just a matter of having the interviewing. I like to interview a lot of people, because you're looking for not only somebody that really knows what they're doing from their resume, but you're also looking for somebody that's going to be a good personality fit with the organization. You can't have somebody that knows exactly what they're doing and is great at their job if they're not going to fit with your team.
LinkedIn is just like bots talking to bots. I promise you, that's how it feels these days.
It really does. And it feels like, they talk about now, the big conversation when you're creating your resume is making sure that AI is going to pick it up and send it through. So it's still problematic. And hiring, whenever it comes down to, hey, Destiny, we've got to hire somebody, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Let's get ready for the circus, because that's how it feels.
In our previous call about I live out in Thailand, there's a whole bunch of SEOs out here, which you were just saying, it blew your mind. You have a remote team in a bunch of different cities, right?
We do, yes. We're all 100% remote.
Awesome. So talk to me about that. How do you run it? What's the day-to-day look like? Are you having those super annoying 15-minute stand-up meetings every day that everybody loves? Totally?
No,
Not really?
no, we hated those. I know hate's a strong word, but Yeah, those were not fun. So we actually, so in the beginning of the company, the majority of the, obviously there were only a few of us in the beginning. So we had a small office. The office was in Arizona. I would go down there every now and then, but I live primarily in Utah now since 2018. So the majority of our team still to this day is in Arizona. And so then what happened? COVID happened, right? And so then as soon as COVID happened, we realized that having people remote was not a big deal. Our productivity actually went up. So, when somebody doesn't have to leave the office, sometimes they end up working more. Not that we want people to work more, but they do. And so essentially we have people so we've got, I think 9 or 10 of them are in Arizona. I'm here in Utah. We've got one in Philadelphia. We've got Indonesia. We've got India. We've got New York. We've got our California just actually moved over here with me to Utah, but we did have somebody in California. We've had people in Uganda, like you name it. I mean, all over the place. But it's interesting, right? Because you have positives and you have negatives for working remote. Positives are we don't have to leave our houses. We can work here, stay in our four walls. Negatives could be that we stay at home and we never leave and we work inside of our four walls, right? But ultimately, I think the biggest negative to having 100% remote is if somebody is ignoring me on Slack, I can't just get up and walk over to them and say, hey, can you please look at my message? Right. But I think that the positives is that we learn how to work together in different creative ways. So whether it's, hey, Destiny, I haven't talked to you for a long time. Let's hop on a huddle in Slack and just chit chat, right? So I think there's pros and cons to everything that you do, but I definitely feel like work from home has made people more comfortable. And I think our productivity level has definitely gone up because when you're in an office, what happens? You come in for the day, you stop at so-and-so's desk, then you stop at the other one, and then it's, 30 minutes, 45 minutes before you even start your work because you're chit chatting with everybody. I come in here, there's no distraction. I get on my computer and I go. So it's definitely helped out in those ways. But, there's struggle and some people are not used to working remote. So that is a huge thing, especially when you're hiring. Has this person ever worked remote? Before COVID, no, nobody really had ever worked remote. Now, post COVID, everybody has some experience, but you still have people, which again comes back to that when you're hiring, you have to talk about that because some people don't thrive when they're on their own. They have to be in environments where they're working closely with people. So that's the other thing too, is you've got to make sure that when you're hiring, those people are okay with working remote.
But you said like before COVID, nobody worked remote. I'm not trying to. I've been working remote for 10 years, and what I'm saying is like, for those who haven't, it is a big shift of like, it's me now. I got to self start. It's kind of lonely. I can't just, when work gets hard, I can't leave the desk. Well, you can't. Like, you can't just go grab a coffee with Susan from accounting or something and just chat the shit for the sake of it. AI tools, meeting summaries, Slack, all that sort of stuff makes so much sense to have a remote team now.
Yes, it does. And the other thing people don't talk about also is overhead. I mean, at the big agency that I worked at before, I mean, you would not believe what they paid for the building. And then, when you want to have the building renovated, we don't have any of those overhead costs. We send you a computer and a laptop. Or I guess a laptop is a computer and a headset. That's the word I was looking for. We send those out, and I mean that's our overhead for the most part. So it helps companies a lot, but again, when you're hiring, it's so important to find people and we've been duped. I'm not going to come out and lie and say that we've gotten it right with the people every single time, but as we've kind of settled into this world that we're in now, we're getting better, I'm just saying like our bullshit radar is getting better.
Soon you're going to be calling, it's going to be an AI person picking up, and you're not going to be able to do it.
Don't tell me that. No.
Take advantage of it while you can.
That hurts my heart.
Hey, I want to
It
shift
hurts my
gears
heart.
and we're gonna do sort of like a little advice to business owners on SEO. But first, let me tell you a quick story. I used to own a website about cats,
Oh,
and
yeah, you mentioned that the other day.
I mentioned that, right? And it was all right. It was off to the races. It started to have that hockey stick growth. This was the time of when affiliate websites were hot. My friends had a fish website. The other guy had a pool website. They're doing 5 figures. I'm like, oh, this is all right, sweet. So created this site. I'm writing about cat litter. It's going well. I'm getting some traction. It's at 13,000 monthly visitors. Not bad.
Okay.
It's the first
Yeah.
time I've ever done it, right? Not bad. However, the more content you write, the more you realize, like, crap, my URL structure's not quite where it needs to be. I got to fix this up. So I did my topics and my clusters and all that, and I fixed it up. Or so I thought. Made the changes, and within this hurts to say, almost overnight, the traffic started to go down, and it eventually crashed and burned and never recovered.
Did you
Because
break your links or did you orphan your pages?
I broke everything. Links, fins, URL structures, not getting
All the
crawled,
things.
everything. And you're freelancing, you're trying to do a website. This is the early days where, I'm also traveling, like money's tight, back, like all this sort of stuff.
Right.
And it's like, am I really going to figure this out? Is this really what I want to do? Write about cat litter all day, every day? And so I broke my shit, right? And so I tell that story because A, it's funny, B, what guy runs a cat website, and C,
Right.
I could have avoided that if I knew what the hell I was doing. So to the business owners out there that think SEO is not hard, I'll Google it, I'll give it a go myself. A, would you recommend that? And B, like, what are some of the common things or stories that you have that you've seen people try and do and completely messed up?
Yeah, no. Solid answer. I do not recommend that at all. So YouTube, let me tell you, the things that I learned on YouTube, many things, not business things, personal things, like, how to, I don't know, what have I used Google for? Trying to figure out what to do when my dishwasher stopped working, right? Things like that. How to change my water filter in my fridge. Yes, I didn't know how to do that the first time, right? Those things, yes. Use YouTube, use TikTok, use whatever it is that you're using these days. For SEO, no. What I recommend for any business owner is get an organization that can help you with the things that you don't know, right? So I can use that as a prime example for us, right? So we started this company, we started to grow, and then once we had more employees, we were like, because me as an employee is just like, oh, it's just destiny, like it's fine, right? But when we have actual employees, like, oh, we don't really know what we're doing here. So then we had to go hire a PEO to handle our HR and all these things because there's so many rules here in the United States with everything, right? So we have to go hire a PEO because that's not our bread and butter. I don't know how to do that. I can Google that, but if I'm wrong with HR, I can be up a shit creek without a paddle, right? So at the end of the day, hire somebody first that knows what they're doing. And then B, you can learn from them what they're doing. That's where the it's not rocket science comes in, but you still got to know what you're doing. If you don't have the knowledge, you can screw things up, as you found out very quickly. A lot of times people don't understand when you're just making a change to a page and you're moving it, you still have that URL is still there. It's broken. If you don't canonicalize it, it's going to be a broken page as you do that more and more. Or as you're saying, like, it sounds like you were trying to build out the taxonomy on your site. If you build out your taxonomy, but you don't put things in the right category or the right area and you don't label them, they become orphan pages. Like pages, that means a page that nobody can get to through any link on your site. So Google's like, they just have these pages all out in the air here. What is this about? So definitely get yourself an SEO to begin with. And then B, start working with that company. And a lot of times, well, if you're with the right SEO company, they have no problem showing you the things that you need to do. If we can save a company a little bit of money or they can take on something themselves, we're not mad about it. We're here to help you. We're here to be your partner. And honestly, some of those relationships lead us to the biggest clients that we get because they appreciate what we do. And then when we have something else that they can't do, they come to us and bring us more money because they don't know how to do that, like web development or pay-per-click, PPC, social media, Those things are not rocket science, or sorry, they're not rocket science, but they're also not as convoluted, or they're more convoluted than SEO can be. There's a lot more strategy involved when it comes to PPC, social media, and when it comes to building out websites, a lot more involved there. So you can learn from the company that you are utilizing to help you with your SEO. You can learn a lot and use them as the crutch to get you where you want to be. You'll start learning things little by little. We have some clients that literally probably know as much as we do. They just don't have the time to do it. So they really understand when we're talking to them, what we're saying and why we're saying it. And then we have people that have no idea. They're the owner of the company. They don't have a big team. They don't really know anything about SEO other than, hey, we need SEO. We've got to get our search volume up. Right. And so those people come to us. We can either help them figure out how to do it while doing it for them, right? And help them understand what it is. When we talk about a title tag, some people don't know what a title tag is. Some people don't know what a URL is. I mean, you wouldn't believe the things that people don't know what things are, right? But why would they? That's not their bread and butter. That's not what their business is. They just need us as a means to help them. Sorry, that was
Yeah,
long-winded.
learn from my mistakes.
Yes, definitely with your
Talking,
cat blog.
I miss it. Talking about marketing. I wouldn't mind if we get a bit of specifics around how are you bringing in clients these days? 92 clients, you've been around for a while. Growth plateau. So how are you sustaining growth? How are you bringing in clients? And what's your most successful marketing channel at the moment?
Yeah, so right now, honestly, word of mouth has been the biggest thing. Referrals are huge for us. We've got a lot of referrals. In fact, the last 3 clients that we have signed were all referrals from other people. We utilize a software, I believe, called Apollo, that is basically like a lead gen system, and that worked really good for us early on. Then it kind of laxed out, stopped really working. So now we're right in the process of trying to figure out, is Apollo going to be what we use for the future? We've tested out and had calls with other lead gen, but for the most part, it's just really right now we're honing in on making our site a lead gen site for us, and really honing in on our account managers and the relationships that they have with our clients to get clients. Clutch.co has been huge for us. It's a review, where people go on and look at reviews that clients have given you. So we are consistently asking clients to go give us good reviews on Clutch. And that's really the majority of where we get our leads from. But I would say, I mean, I know a lot of people don't say it, but referrals for us are huge. We do a lot of case studies for our clients. And then, as soon as somebody sees exactly how much business we've brought them, and we can show it to them, then they're like, oh yeah. I mean, and Christy, the owner, I mean, that woman, well, like I said, she was in sales, and she will have people reach out to her today that she hasn't talked to in 6 to 8 years, and will be like, hey, what are you doing now? I'm not even kidding. She just closed one, I think 3 months ago, that the person, she was like, Destiny, do you remember who this is? I had no idea. My memory is not the greatest, especially with people from that long ago. And we closed a client because of that situation. So really, it's building the rapport with the people. Even if somebody doesn't sign with us now from a lead, they'll remember us later. If they go to another company that has more budget than the company that they're working at, they'll remember that and they get back to us. But really, Apollo and word of mouth is how we're getting all of our leads.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I mean, word of mouth is by far the best, right?
And
Every
you get
marketer
better
says that.
clients that way.
You get better clients. It's free, maybe a
Yes.
referral, but it's
Right.
free. It works. Case studies are great. Usually everybody's happy. Apollo is honestly, Apollo is a mixed bag. I think for a lot of people at the moment, like some of the results are good. Some of the results, as in terms of lead quality, is
Yeah.
not that great. So there's a lot of enrichment that you need to do on the back end, and that eats up a lot of time, and
Yeah.
time is money.
It used to be way more fruitful than it is now. Now we're also using, so we've obviously over the years, we've done a lot of proposals, right? So we're using HubSpot now and really taking email marketing campaigns to go off of all of those leads, I guess, that we didn't close, or some that maybe we did, they were ready to close and they didn't have the budget. those kind of things. So we are utilizing that and there's thousands and thousands of emails there, but we're just kind of in the beginning stages of trying to mine that data and figure out if that's going to be fruitful or not either.
I'd love to pick your brain on that. Email's kind of where I cut my teeth in marketing. Are you just sort of nurturing them? Are you sending them newsletters? Are you giving them free offers? What are you doing there?
So we do newsletters. We do newsletters every single month. And we're also just, I don't know. We're sending emails trying to get them to talk to us, essentially. I don't know a whole lot about the email marketing stuff that we do. I kind of stay away from a lot of that, but I know that they definitely get our newsletters that we send every week. And then a lot of the follow up, we send them the newsletters, but a lot of the follow up is coming from our salesperson. And she's sending them personalized emails like, hey, well, you were interested in this day. And then, what are you guys doing for SEO now? And trying to engage that way. But I'm not 100% sure of exactly what we're doing with the email marketing part of things.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Some tips for business owners out there: automating that sort of stuff is usually the way to go. But you're of the luxury where you can have somebody in house doing this. So if you don't, there's plenty of tools that will automate that for you. HubSpot can be quite expensive as well for some of these businesses. I'm talking sub 1 million rev or maybe sub 500K. The best newsletter platform by far is Beehive if you just want to run an email newsletter.
So I'm going to write that down, Beehive.
And it's not just because I was one of the writing team for over a year there, writing about them. It genuinely is, let's say, destiny for someone like yourself who's been in the game for as long as you have, perhaps have a bit of a following on LinkedIn, which I know you do, and you have something to say in the space about how SEO and marketing should be done. You could create a personal newsletter for yourself to talk about that on Beehive, and then that becomes another revenue stream for you. That's kind of what Beehive's about. It's not like a Klaviyo or anything like that.
Oh, I like that.
I digress. One thing I do want to talk about with marketing, though, is your experimenting. And on a previous call when we connected, you said TikTok. What have you done on TikTok recently?
So TikTok is basically me. That's not from the organization. The Cadence as a whole has not really dug into TikTok yet. I'll be honest, I was a TikTok hater in the beginning. I didn't really understand. Yeah, I didn't understand what it was about. For me, it was kids dancing. And I was just like, okay, like I don't care to watch kids dance. I'm 40 years old. What the heck am I doing here, right? So then my daughter wanted TikTok and I was like, okay, like I need to look into this a little bit more. And now you'll find me scrolling TikTok every single night because I can't tell you how many things that I've bought off of TikTok Shop just because you have somebody right there. It's not, when we're buying retail, let's talk retail real quick. Retail, a lot of people don't go to the stores anymore. We know that by how many stores are closing. When you look at something and you're on, say, like, I don't know, buckle.com, and you're looking at a shirt, for example, it's a flat photo of that shirt. If I get on TikTok, I can go onto one of the live sales that they do right now. I can see that shirt. I can see how it fits. I can see the actual color of it because the color is always off in photographs. You get me every time. Every time I'm scrolling and I see somebody, I'm like, oh, that's so cute. Then boom, what do? I click it, I hit the Apple Pay and I buy it and it shows up at my door a few days later. I think there's a lot that I don't know what's going to happen with TikTok here in the United States. Again, it's coming to what could be the end, who knows? But what they're doing on TikTok, I've never seen it before. I have never seen people, influencers, making the kinds of money that these people make on TikTok. I think that there's a market for anything on TikTok. And even now, if I want to learn about a specific industry or a specific business, that's where I go instead of YouTube. TikTok. What I want to learn a recipe, where do I go? TikTok. I can get it in a shorter version. And now YouTube has YouTube Shorts. I think they missed the mark on it before, though. YouTube is always known for its longer videos and, in-depth explanations of things. I think that, if TikTok does go away in the United States, it's going to be interesting. I don't see how that's going to happen given that so many small businesses are here on TikTok. But I think that any industry has a place on TikTok. And I think that it's being heavily underutilized because of people like me. I used to be, like I said, a hater. And Now I love TikTok. I think it's a great way to get information in short little bursts of energy. And I'm hopeful that Cadence is going to start jumping on that train. Obviously, it makes sense to not, go full force and full bore on TikTok right now, knowing that we don't know what's going to happen here in a couple weeks. But I'm hopeful that that's one of the arenas that we're going to start getting into as well.
Still worth looking at, because if TikTok goes away, I don't think it will. Another one will
I
take its
don't think it
place.
will. Yeah, it's for
But
sure.
by the way, people for years have been selling live on Facebook out in Asia for as long as I can remember being here. I just remember scrolling on Facebook, seeing a pretty Asian lady selling some dress. And I was like, what is this? And they're selling live on Facebook. Yeah, it's a whole thing out here. So I think TikTok hit the nail on the head. YouTube definitely missed out. Imagine if you could sell stuff live on YouTube directly within YouTube.
With all the followers and longevity that people have on TikTok, or sorry, on YouTube, yeah, it's huge.
I want to talk about AI, if that's okay. Before the old days of SEO, if we're talking content, if I go back to the content, it was a crap ton of research. It took forever to write an article. I'm staring at a blank page. Now AI, boom, click, bang, bang, adjust the prompt, bang. We've got an article. We plug it in a tool. It's changed the game. Whether they're good or bad is a different question. But AI has definitely is been a game changer, and it's funny because AI always uses that in its copy. What's your opinion on AI? Are you guys leveraging it for yourselves to some extent? And I'm specifically talking for SEO stuff like content, research, all those sorts of things.
We're definitely utilizing it in some areas, but not the areas that you would think. So essentially in the beginning, well, let's say, I won't say in the beginning because that was a long time ago, but like 2 to 3 years ago, they really started coming out with, and clients were pressuring us because they were starting to see AI content. We were not interested in AI content at all. We didn't think that it was really going to go anywhere because we saw what happened with spun content about 5 to 6 years ago, where people were taking content, getting a piece written, having it spun through a generator, and then just putting up more copy. Well, guess what? Google caught on to that, and then your site tanked. So coming off of the history of how, the brand new trendy thing comes out and then Google catches on and then they tank all of your rankings, we were very skeptical of AI copy. So what we did is we picked a select few clients that had been with us for a long time and our own sites, because we own more than obviously our own sites. You have to if you're in this industry. So we started with testing our own sites. AI generated copy did okay, but it wasn't anything that was mind blowing. And you always, when it's something new, you've got to take the time. It's not just the instant gratification. You got to wait. So after a few months, we were able to see that it was doing okay. It wasn't doing as well as, our human written content, but it was doing okay. We didn't notice anything tanking. So then we take it to the next level of what an A/B test is. And we talk to a few select clients, say, hey, we don't know if this is going to be a thing. Do you want to try this as a thing, right? They get to decide if that's what they want to do or not. A couple of them were fine with it, so we tested it. I can't remember the exact timeline, but it started to not do as well. So then you see Google coming out, and Google now has, when you Google something, they have the little AI thing that pops up with the generation of results, which I actually love a lot now. But essentially, we found that the content that our writers write still outperforms anything. So we went away from that. We do not do any AI generated content that goes on our client site still to this day. And I don't think that we will do anything like that anytime soon, just because it hasn't proven that it's going to be better than our writers. What we do use AI for, and what I would give as advice to anybody that's looking to use AI for copy, is if you're looking to use AI for copy, you're giving yourself a huge disadvantage. We're now using it so we pay for tools, right, that do keyword tracking and things like that. We're using AI to help us generate and create software to be able to do those things so that we don't have to pay other companies to do it. So that is really where we're focusing our AI usage on, is helping us create and build tools that we're going to be able to utilize and not have to pay these other organizations hefty amounts of money every month to get those results. And we're also utilizing it for content topic generation. just because we do a lot of content topic generation with all of our clients. Almost all of our clients have content topic generation, whether we write the copy for them or they take those topics and keywords and write the copy themselves. That's been huge for us because some clients get 16 to 20 pieces of copy a month. Doing that over and over and over again for months was a more tedious application. And now we're able to create those topics utilizing AI.
So many good points there. I'll get through them. So a story you told, it reminded me where you said, I'm saying no to AI in the beginning. I think most people did, especially writers. The thing I think most people need to realize when just using AI to write content only is AI doesn't yet come up with any new copy information or anything like that. Slowly. But if you ask it to say, like, write an article on what is SEO, it's just going to take what's already out there and it kind of glorifies it, blah, blah. You could say, write it in this tone and all that sort of stuff. It still doesn't take new knowledge. So a buddy of mine, he's been writing for 10 years. He suggests to use AI, but obviously still inject your human elements into it. That's at the moment the best way, and it works, and it's ranking. However, I fully appreciate yourself as a business have to be so careful using AI for clients' websites and stuff. It's all well and good to do it on your own. It's your own website, it's your own responsibility. What I like that you used for AI is that you're building your own tools. Yes. I think that is brilliant. And I think more companies should think about doing that. You remember I mentioned a guy called Matt Diggity. He's partnered with Surfer SEO, if you know them. So he's an investor in them now, and they're heavily using AI. They have the same access to the tools and AI technology that you guys do, as in like you guys as in business owners do. They just know how to talk the talk, walk the walk to build a tool. When will these tools come out for other people of yours that you build to use, or are you just strictly leaving them in-house?
Right now, we're strictly leaving them in-house because they're not ready yet. There's a lot of testing and stuff, but what I'm feeling is that Christy and Kevin will be putting them out there as a SaaS, sometime in the future. But right now, before you do that, especially in this industry, because you don't want to put something out too early and then it like kills all of your credibility. 100% of it is gone. So right now the ultimate goal will probably be to use that as another revenue stream for the business. But right now we're just trying to finesse them and get them to where we're comfortable getting rid of some of these tools, because these tools are a lot of money. And again, it goes back to Christy and Kevin. They started Cadence SEO because of the greed in the industry. Everybody that is not a nonprofit is a for-profit. But we truly feel like, there's a line. There's a line between taking advantage of people and companies, just to get more money just because you can. And I know some people are not like that. Obviously, there are millionaires and billionaires in the world, and that's what they want to do. That's their prerogative. That's fine. But that is not the stance that, our owners have. That's not a dig at anybody if you are, we just look at things a different way. But I wanted to circle back and jump back on the question that you had started with, as far as like, what would that have done if you guys had posted that piece of copy? And really, it depends. What generally will happen is Google is smart enough to kind of understand where, if you had copied content, right? So if you had copied content, they see that, so they could ding your copy, for lack of using bigger terms. They could ding your copy for not being exclusive copy that you wrote. They could hold back you from being able to rank on those pages. But when it comes down to it, in the court of public opinion, if you will, if I read your article and I read, say, an article that's on our blog, right? Because we all write the same things. I don't think that the court of public opinion is going to be like, oh, like this company doesn't have any credibility because they put this information up. I don't think that people see it that way, because how many different ways can you write an article on what SEO is? Like we mentioned in the very beginning, it's not rocket science. So I feel like certain industries, 100%. If you're talking medical industry, if you're talking banking, finance, those kinds of industries, yes, I think it hurts your credibility by doing that, because those things are more specific. You've got regulation, you've got all sorts of, things that you've got to worry about when you're putting up content like that. Would I personally be worried if somebody read it and was like, oh, I think I read that last week on Cadence SEO's blog? No, but Google can stop you from being able to rank. And if it hurts you there, then they can start hurting. They'll start looking at your other pages more and seeing if you've got more copied content. And then, it can start hurting those pages as well. That's really the limit to really what you're going to see, unless somebody says that you directly copied them and then they want to get a lawsuit. That's a whole other situation. But with this topic, I think it would be really hard to have a leg to stand on from a legal standpoint. You know what I mean?
I do. I was just thinking, if you had to sum up what a good piece of content is in a sentence, to me, it would go back to what Google is always saying that they're looking for, and it's that helpful. Is it helpful? That the HCU at the end of the day, whether it's AI, whether it's whatever, but with the nuance of the niches. Like, for instance, I was talking about fintech. You probably want it obviously more human than AI. I think it's just, as long as you can't go wrong as long as it's helpful and doesn't sound super robotic, because that's not fun to read. Yeah, I think that's where we could go. Probably end that little segment on about AI and content. There is just make sure it's helpful if you're going to do it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're helping somebody, Google's not going to be mad at you.
I want to know your thoughts on what you think the future of SEO looks like, given where we're at, AI, what Google's doing. Will we even use Google in 5 years? What do you think is going to happen?
So it's funny that you ask this question, because whenever I heard AI, again, I'm going to age myself here, but you always think of the Terminator. You know what I mean? The robots are going to take all of our jobs. The robots are going to kill us all. Right. And now that we're actually living in the age where it's not just an old grainy movie that's popping up on your TV, right? I think that some people have the right to be scared, right? AI is going to take jobs. It's probably going to completely eliminate jobs. But I think Google is still going to be here. I don't think Google is going anywhere. I think that we will see other things pop up, but I still think that Google is going to be a heavy hitter for many, many years to come. I don't see that going out, but I do see things shifting, but I don't think that it comes down to everybody losing their jobs, because that's what everybody thinks, right? I think that you've got to be smart as you're picking jobs. I mean, even truck drivers now, they're coming out with semi trucks that are going to be running themselves. I think there's very few industries, we'll say, that are not going to be impacted by AI. It's all about just figuring out and staying ahead of the game, right? What can you do now that is going to help you set yourself up if something does change and there are less people that are needed with what you do now? It's not going away. The train is already screaming down the tracks. We're going to keep seeing AI, and you've just got to figure out how to work with it at this point. It can't be like I was in the beginning anymore and be like, oh no, I'm not going to touch this. It's not going to go anywhere. You have to touch it. You've got to learn it.
I think that's the shift that most companies need to make at this stage to sort of stay ahead of the game with SEO. Keep your finger on the pulse. What's AI doing? What's Google wanting? If you were to
Exactly.
try and put it in a bracket, I
Yep.
think that would be the advice that I would give. Before we wrap up, I like to ask all of our guests one question, and that is, if you had to give a young founder one piece of advice, what would your advice be?
My advice for a young founder would be not to get in your own head. Ask for help when you need it, because we can't know everything. And I think the last piece of advice would be just keep going. Even if you fail, right? We all fail. We've all failed a million times. You got to keep going. No matter what it is. If you need to pivot, but keep going with something, because you obviously went all in on an idea. And if it doesn't work right now, it doesn't mean that it won't.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. The only way it won't work is if you quit.
Exactly. We can't be quitters this day and age.
Love it. For those who want to connect with you more, what's the best way they can do that? And those who want to learn more about Cadence, how can they do that?
Yeah, so for me, I'm on LinkedIn, Destiny Baker. I think my handle is Destiny7467. And then with Cadence, you can reach out to us anytime at www.cadenceseo.com.
And Destiny, that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I had a really great time talking with you. We could probably keep talking for another hour. Thanks
Right.
for sharing your insights with us. It's been fantastic to hear about Cadence's success. And to all our listeners out there, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode. Destiny, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Bye-bye.